Welcome to my shutter drag tutorial. Finally doing this. I know I've talked about it for a long time on Twitter and everything, and people often ask me when I post these kind of photos like this, how I do it. And I'm going to explain that in detail, the most that I can, in this little tutorial that I made. I hope you enjoy, and just let me know if you have any other questions after watching. So what I'm going for here is this edge light back there to give us a nice, that'll be the highlight, the brightest part. And you'll see that everything else is in shadows because that's what's going to give me the shape. So if you see this outline right here where the shadows and the midtones meet, that's going to be the shape of her face when I pull the camera away. And there's no light there, so it can't travel with the camera when I move the camera. Where the most light is, that's where you're gonna get the most travel. So you want that to be the smallest details. Like on her lip here, there's some highlights. The catch light in her eye will be a good highlight. If you have too much of that, then it just kind of overpowers the frame. You don't get any shape, and you don't get that cool dragging effect that you see with those super fine lines. So we have our highlights, our midtones, and our shadows. Very clear, clearly defined. On Ektar 100 film, it's good to be at 100 speed film because that lets you get a lower shutter speed without being too bright. I'm gonna go to 1/8 of a second. So I'm at f2, an 1/8 of a second. And so the key with this, everyone thinks that you need to do it on a tripod or hold it for a second and then move it. At least that's what I see people say on Twitter. The number one thing is the light. And then I like to use it handheld without a tripod because with a tripod, I've tried that. It just comes out too mechanical and too perfect. And it's those little imperfections with how you move your hand that make it really cool and unique. So we're on the first shot. Let me get focus. And just move it away like that. So I take it and move it right away. It can be kind of random. It's the timing has to be perfect. So I usually try to do 3 or 4. Just to make sure one of them comes out. Can you head that way a little bit? Look up higher. Straight up at the ceiling. Eyes down. Too much. A little higher. Right there. So I'm putting her eye in the perfect spot to get a nice catch light right there. Get a little more shadow. See, it's just a quick flick of the wrist. That's it. And you want to make sure you're going into a spot that's dark, darker than your seam. Because if I go that way and it's a window, I'm going to catch the window. And I've done it sometimes like this, where I'll go straight down in my hand like that, so that I know I'm going somewhere dark and I'm not picking anything up. So now I'm going to experiment a little bit and just go to bulb. As long as I hold the shutter button down, the shutter will stay open. What you can do with that is go down like that and then back up. And when you're shooting on color negative film, you have a lot of latitude. So even if you fuck up the exposure a little bit, you can usually save it. So I'm using these Hive lights that I'm lucky enough to have, but I've done this with cheap lights from Home Depot, or I've done this with every range of light that you can think of. As long as you control where the light's pointing and get these shadows, you can do it. And usually only 1 or 2 of these come out the way you want them to. It's totally normal, and that's why you do a lot of them. And before doing this on film, I'd recommend trying it on digital, or you can even do it on your phone. So I'll show you how to do that real quick. If you edit with Lightroom or Photoshop, you should have access to the Lightroom app, and I'll show you how to do this through there. So you see the settings are all on auto to start, but you can change them manually. So if you go to shutter, go down to a 4th. You just want to get off all the auto settings and set it yourself. So that ISO 25. And you can already see it's doing the motion there. So if you just take the photo and move, you'll get that little bit of motion. My phone's lagging because it's an old iPhone 6, but just take a bunch since it's not on film. You'll see how those come out. Okay. Anything that has shutter speed control will allow you to do this. So I'm going to do one a little bit longer with a slower movement. So I'm just adjusting my shutter speed to be lower and then my aperture a little higher so I can offset that extra time. And we'll see what it looks like when you move slow. When I was doing that, I was moving up and down a little bit. So we'll see how that comes out. All right, that's going to do it. If you have any other questions, just let me know. Check out my book, which features a lot of photos taken in this same style. That's going to be coming out on December 15th, but you can pre-order it now. All right, thank you. Have a good one. I'll see you next time.